Well, hi there, and welcome to today's session where we are sharing 7 must-knows about our new Smarter SMSF document platform. My name is Aaron Dunn, CEO of Smarter SMSF, and today very much a practical session to highlight many of the key features that we have implemented and continue to implement across our new Smarter SMSF platform. Many of you that have been using our current document platform for a long period of time would be aware that we have currently available the beta version of the platform. So you can go into this new document platform to order a range of documents that we already have available. And you can see some of the screens on the page here that show you some of the many features that we've added into the new platform as part of this process. And really, why the new document platform? Putting aside, obviously, the age and the improved technology over time, a lot of this ultimately comes back to the feedback that we get back from you. You being maybe a member of Smarter SMSF with ordering documents, or those of you that just order documents generally through the platform. And what ultimately we've seen is the evolution of multiple team members needing to order subscriptions, where we've introduced an administrative console, the fact that we needed to continue to enhance and improve the way in which we have integrations fill in the ordering forms and being able to push that information back. So we have our integration sitting within the relevant forms, but we also have our integrations available across a number of other key areas, including our DocFlows and even our client list, which we'll be sharing some of those with you today as well. And then also you can see in our new platform, and as we highlight today, the fact that we've built additional functionality to be able to import data or to be able to use additional services such as our Smarter Legal Review. And these are all significant enhancements that we've had over time that ultimately we have decided to deploy into this new Smarter SMSF document platform. And it is part of the larger platform that we have. Not only do we have the ability to manage the documents here, the admin console, but we also, of course, have our learning platform along with our technical support as well. So let's get stuck into what we see as the 7 must-knows to enhance your experience as a user around the Smarter SMSF platform. And the first one here is the fact that our software integrations, specifically with BGL Class and Supermate, we now have the ability to integrate with these SMSF software providers directly within the form. So here users can simply go into the form, and then once you're in the form, you can then look to integrate with your SMSF specific provider. So we are agnostic when it comes to the integrations that we have, but you don't need to go to a separate section like we had on the original platform. But as is the case with any sort of API, what we're wanting to do and what we do across these forms is the ability to import in fund and trustee and member information, and where relevant, even further, that information that may be pertain to pensions is probably the best example there. So we're getting as much detail as we can get out of our API access with BGL Class and Supermate. Why is that important? It's important because it improves the time to generate the order. It speeds up the process for you. And most importantly, it eliminates data entry errors that we obviously see on a day-to-day basis as part of the overall process. Not only do we have the ability to get information, so that is pull that information down to enable the population of the order forms on the Smarter SMSF site, we also have the ability to post data back into your SMSF software. So that pushing back may be when you're setting up a brand new self-managed super fund and you want to push that setup information back into your software automatically. So again, it'd be your name, it'd be the trustees, it would be the directors, it would be the members, all of that information, including your ABN, when that ultimately gets issued as well. So there is, subject to what the API allows us to access, not only allows us to pull that information, but also allows us to undertake actions to post information back into the software as well. Now, we have here a number of pieces of information that would enable you to find out more about this. So the two areas that we suggest that you go to, one is we have our YouTube channel that you can go and access a lot of this information on, but equally on our Smarter SMSF page, you can go to Documents and Integrations and find out more about how you can access the integration information, including where we've held Integrations Week. And I might just jump on to our main site here and show you how you can access that information. So again, here we have our documents and integrations page, and we've got specific pages built out around those, but equally you can go into the Integrations Week, and where we have hosted in essence a number of sessions, you can then go in and find out more about each of those integrations more specifically as well. But let's go into the platform here. So this is our Smarter SMSF platform. And as we continue here, ultimately you can see a lot of these order forms listed on the page here. And I'm just going to choose any one here. It doesn't really matter which one I'm actually choosing, but if I just take the lump sum as an example, what you can then see here is, as I mentioned in the slide before, the integration sits at the top of the page. So whether you are using Class, Simple Funds 360 or Supermate, you will be able to populate this order form as a result of the integration that you have. So not only can you see here through the traffic light system whether it is connected or not connected, you can also see that through the integrations that is here as well. So if we looked at a one here, we might just connect to Class in this instance. I'll use my multi-factor authentication, which is naturally a part of any process that we have now. So go down to here, log in, enter my multi-factor, which is always the joy of doing this now, but it is an important part of the overall process. And we do require this naturally as part of our security assessments that happen with our API connections each and every year. So I'm just going to allow the connection here. And then what you will see is that that will move from a red traffic light to a green traffic light there. Now, what that in essence allows us to do is allows us to choose the fund that we want to go through and undertake. So if I looked at one in here, so just pick up one here, what it's then going to do in that import function is it will then ask us, not only is it getting the fund information, but it will then also be asking for specific details around the member. So who are we actually requesting information from? So it's going to populate down to that granular level. So the fund information and then the member information. If it's a pension, for example, it will then also be asking for what type of pension that you may have set up in that software as well. So the idea here then is through that import, it is then going to populate as much information as the API will allow us to do here to enable us to go through and ultimately complete that specific order. So that is an important part of the ordering process. As I said, doesn't matter what form that you are looking at in here, where you are being directed to the Smarter SMSF platform. Some of these are still pointing back to the old platform, but you will see that functionality sitting at the top of the screen here to enable you to start the ball rolling with the integration, again, whether it's with Class, BGL, or Supermate. So let's head back to our slides again now and jump on to the next topic. And that next topic is all about the enhancement to a number of our forms and documents. So as part of the migration process, naturally what we have done is looked at what forms we need to bring across to the new platform, and where relevant, how do we need to improve the way in which that form operates, or in terms of the options that may be available within that form. And this has been quite deliberate with a number of these that we initially had in beta, and then naturally, as we are migrating across, we're making that assessment in terms of whether something is better off getting a brand new form or whether there is an updated form. So the fund establishment, many of you will know we did a fairly substantial change to the templates from the 1st of July 2024. We have also, through the new process, through the new platform here, I should say, we have gone in and made specific changes to the form around a trust deed upgrade. And I'll talk to some of those a little bit more shortly. Also, where we have seen in a number of instances, both in the fund membership and also in the pensions, we have decided to take out some of the options within those forms to create standalone forms. So currently, many of you that are doing the adding or removing a member, that has been within one form. We've now stripped that out into 2 separate forms. Why? Because we have decided to add different combinations into those forms. So adding a fund member, it may be where there's a legal representative appointed for that individual. It may also be where there's a parent or guardian if we're appointing a child member. Death benefit income streams, we have separated those because, again, there are some sort of specifics that we needed to address, whilst at the same time we enhance the actual pension commencement form itself, noting that there is not only the ability to create account-based pensions, but also transition to retirement income streams, but the ability to make elections to treat those above minimum pensions is just one example there. And the same in our pension rollbacks. We have also not only dealt with member requests, but also where the pension has failed due to, say, the minimum not being taken as well. Now, so there are a range of examples that we've improved or created new forms for, and then again, where we've done those updates. Now, some of the other forms that we've added in here are part of the relationships that we have with Hill Legal, so our Smarter Legal Review, which we'll be talking a little bit more about shortly, and also through Inherit Australia. So you do have the ability to order things like powers of attorney through the integration with Inherit Australia, and you also have the ability to organise a deed of rectification, so through the Smarter Legal Review process, where Hill Legal will undertake and prepare that legal information and documentation for you as part of that process. Now, the other thing that's just worth noting, a number of these forms, what we are also including as part of this process is a pre-populated ATO form. Now, some of these will get lodged automatically through the ABR site and so forth if you do these electronically. But importantly, we're wanting to enhance the usability or the ability to make sure that that information that is getting lodged to the ATO is done and done correctly. So one example that we're working on at the moment in our updated form is the contribution reserving. So the request to adjust the concessional contributions. Again, just noting that we will be providing that populated form. We already do the trustee declarations as part of the fund establishment process, and there will be a number of these that you'll see as part of the rollout of additional forms that we'll be providing. So pension commencements, we expect to be providing some templates around the transfer balance account reporting, changes of trustee, again, the change of member or the change of details, fund details forms. As much of this that we can provide and help you in that process, we will be trying to actually do. So let's again jump back to the platform. And I just want to highlight some of these key changes that we've actually done. So I'm going to go into our trust deed upgrade is probably a good example of one that we did enhance recently. And also in our add a fund member is a new one that we've done in recent times as well. So one of the big shifts in our trust deed upgrade form is the fact that we are not only dealing with the requirements for CUROPS, so the fact that we have CUROPS funds in play, which are a very common order that we see around new SMSFs on the Smarter SMSF platform, but we also look at issues like additional parties. So where there are circumstances where there is a founder or a principal employer or employer sponsor or something, and they are required to be a party to that deed upgrade, well, there is the now ability to incorporate that into the ordering process. So that's something that wasn't previously available in our SMSF deed upgrade form on the existing site, but these are features where we regularly see this information being required, and therefore we have enhanced the existing form or replaced the existing form by including these enhancements into the ordering process that will ensure that you're getting the better document without potentially, in some instances, Smarter SMSF needing to take that information offline to enable that order to actually occur. And the other example that I was mentioning before was around our added fund member. So in this instance, not only are we capturing the information about the ordinary members themselves, but we would also be capturing things like a child member. So therefore the parent or guardian is the one that would be signing that document, or a legal representative as well. So there are a range of ones on here that you can see. As well, we have our connection here to be able to order, say, an enduring power of attorney in different states. Where you see on the right-hand side an image or an icon, it does reference, therefore, that there is some additional connection to that ordering process. So in this instance, it would be an integration that takes us across into the Inherit Australia website to be able to go and undertake that ordering process. In our deed of rectification form, which we'll touch on shortly, it has our Hill Legal, which is naturally going to be part of that process. So you can see in here, it takes us across to Inherit, and then you can go in and undertake and prepare that enduring power of attorney, and then naturally arrange for the relevant legal sign-offs that need to occur. So we also then have this CSV, and again, I'll talk to that specific function in a little bit more detail shortly. So the ordering of documents and the forms that we have available is something that we are spending a lot of time on, trying to make sure as we move to the new platform, we're giving you as much as we can around not only its technical accuracy, which is obviously at the very forefront of what we do, and enhancements from a strategy point of view, from a technical issues point of view. So pension rollbacks is a really good example of that, where the ATO has had revised views around TR 2013-5, and when a pension ceases, quite clearly we've then updated the forms to deal with the ATO's current views and what steps need to be undertaken as part of that process. So that's one really clear example. And then again, just in enhancing what the forms can do and building into the integrations that we spoke about earlier that make that process quicker for you and ultimately more effective through the error rate in terms of ordering with the integrations and so forth that we have. Now, another area that we've spent a lot of time on as part of the rollout of this platform is CSV import functionality. Now, for many people with the integrations into BGL, Class, and Supermate, that does, in essence, a lot of the heavy lifting that you need in respect to the SMSF documents available on the platform. But we do know that we have clients that may be using Xero, maybe using an X-Plan or external sources here, even marketing automation like a HubSpot or Keep or something, that they would love to be able to get that information from that software into their ordering process. And that may be through a fund establishment whereby the financial advisor may be capturing that information in the financial planning software to be able to write the statement of advice. But then all that information we want to then utilize to be able to undertake the company incorporation and the fund establishment to get that fund underway. And this is where the CSV import really comes into its own, because it will allow you to map that information out of the file that you get from your third-party software source, and then allow you to bring that in and map that information into the relevant order form that you want to undertake. So we do have this CSV import function now available in setting up new trustee companies, so a special purpose company. We also have it available for our new SMSFs, if you have, say, individual trustees. And then we also now have it available with our SMSF deed upgrades, which importantly allows for deed upgrades to be done on a bulk ordering basis. And I'll touch on that a little bit more in a second. And again, the more that we're talking to our clients, the more that they're getting ideas and suggestions. So our investment strategy reports is going to be one of the other key areas. Now, what I should say is we did recently run a session around this as part of our Smarter SMSF October update. So you can look at that on our YouTube channel. Also, we have a how-to video on our YouTube channel as well about the CSV import in action. So you can go and look at those specifically to find out more, because I will just sort of give you a brief overview of how this works, and you can go away and undertake a little bit more information in your own time. So we do have our CSV import that you can see on the navigation here. And what this is allowing us to do is, in essence, choose from a list of forms that we have available. And once we have that relevant form here, we can then go and select the file that we want to. If we don't have a template, we can download the relevant template here. Once we have stored templates, you can manage those as part of this process and ultimately delete them from Access. Once you have that, what we then need to do is go and find that file. I don't have one for the purposes of this today, but you can go and, as I said, watch the video to understand it more. And then you'll upload that information in. That will ultimately, actually, I might just go and download a sample here. So we might get our new SMSF, and then I'll choose new SMSF, choose that one there, open that file, and then it's going to allow us to upload. And then what it will do is ultimately auto map here, or we can choose to go in and reference that information ourselves. So if we're using the template from Smarter SMSF, that will auto map. If you are maybe getting it from an external file, Xero or Xplan or something like I said before, the first time you will go through and you will map that information, all the relevant fields that you need. But importantly, once that is done, you can then save that template that allows you each and every time to use that template to enable you to fast track that import process as you go along with multiple orders that then need to be done. Now, I did also mention here that you could do bulk ordering in this process. So any CSV file that you do have is ultimately going to either have a single row of data that will then go and allow you to undertake the next step, or if you actually have multiple rows of data. So for example, in a deed upgrade, it will then save multiple saved orders for you to then go and undertake that specific review of those saved orders. So again, a time-saving exercise as part of the deed upgrade process. So once again, if you want to find out a little bit more about how that CSV functionality works and works in more detail, I do suggest that you go and watch our videos and find out more about that CSV import functionality. So the fourth one that I want to touch on today is our Smarter Legal Review. And again, this has been a key feature of the work that we've done with Hill Legal over the past 6 to 12 months, where we now have incorporated into a number of documents the ability for you to request legal sign-off by Smarter SMSF's legal partner, Hill Legal. So we call this Smarter Legal Review, and many of you may have came to our Smarter Legal Week that we held in the end of July. And again, I've got a link at the bottom of the page here that you can go away and have a look at the Smarter SMSF site, and under Documents and Legal, we do have our Legal Week there that enables you to go and watch the different webinars that myself and Chris Hill were a part of, whether it's about the deed or about the legal review service, about creating the powers of attorney, or the Fund Guardian that were formed, that were the 4 webinars that form part of that particular week. Now, going back to the slides here, what the Smarter Legal Review service is ultimately allowing you to do in the ordering process is to say, do I want a lawyer to undertake a review of this particular document that is being requested by you? and where relevant to look at the history or the trail of documents that are connected to that as well. So we do have 3 levels of legal review available. So that is a scope review, a comprehensive review, and bespoke review. And again, you can go to the Smarter SMSF website and find out more around the legal review service. And specifically, Chris and I ran that session that explains that in more detail. So not only can you go in and obtain that legal sign-off, whether it's maybe a change of trustee or a deed upgrade, but you can also look to request rectification where you know there is an issue, you can't find a deed may not have been dated or signed, or there's a party missing, or whatever it may be, that we also have a specific document that allows you to go in and request for that rectification to occur. So that is an additional level that we have on top of the 3 levels that I spoke about above, that in essence allows you to go and rectify. Now, that rectification process, including legal review, we do have status steps and checks inside that ordering process. So the status management is actually done within the Smarter SMSF platform, whilst you are directly engaging Hill Legal for the work to be completed. So let's go in and have a look. And again, I took you to where that Smarter Legal Review stuff is before, that you can see here. But ultimately, what we will undertake in here is, if we go back to our platform and we go to our deed, say our trust deed upgrade here, as an example, you can then see that not only do we have the CSV import function there that I spoke about before, but this is one where legal review is actually available to be utilized. So what ultimately we're doing here is we are choosing for the order to be completed. And I might just go through and work through this with you just to share some information. By the time I do the connection here, I'll probably have this finished. So I'm just going to put this in manually. So what we're ultimately looking to do here is, so we'll have our meeting, we'll put our meeting date today. Is it being varied for QOps? No, we're not. Has it been previously varied? We'll say yes, it has. We'll say that it's been varied once. So we'll go back and we'll say the 9th of the 9th, 2017. Is it a Smarter SMSF deed? Yes or no. If it is, it will automatically put in the relevant rule that will allow for the upgrade. If it's no, then you would need to specifically put in, whatever that rule is, and whether it's a clause or a rule or whatever the case may be. It's going to have our member information in here. So we'll just have it as a sole member fund. We'll have a corporate trustee, of course, that we will need here. Yes, they are. So Tesco. Our corporate address. Is there any other person that in this instance with a single member fund? No. John's the member, no additional parties. And then here you can see whether we are requesting legal review or not. Okay, so if we choose no, it will allow us to go through and complete that order. If it's yes, well then what we're looking to do is we need to work out what level of review is required. And we can go to our tooltip and we can get that information here to help understand that better as well. So it may be that we're looking at a scoped review. It would require us to upload documents in here. So the relevant deed is a good example here that we would need to include. So I might just put in this document. I know it's not related to that. And then is there any other additional information that we would like to include? So we can put that relevant information in to help that legal process. We put in place the relevant acknowledgements in here so that the engagement of Hill Legal to undertake that work, and then ultimately the disclaimer to say that Smarter SMSF is not providing the legal service that is being engaged through Hill Legal as part of that process. And then ultimately, what we end up with is a process that will allow us to review that particular order. And then you'll see here the relevant pricing point. So for me, with an administrative function, there's no price there, but ultimately as a member, you will still get a price based upon the level of review. The document itself, once generated, will come off the counter. But if you are ordering it on a pay-as-you-go basis, you will pay both the document order plus the level of review in this process. So I then simply will place that particular order, and then it's going to go into my completed orders as part of that overall process. Now, what is important to note here is that the order will go in the completed orders page, will go not to green as an action, but will rather be in a amber color, ultimately on hold. So it will show a legal review, and that legal review will highlight that it is then to be submitted to Hill Legal for review as part of that process. And the other thing is that the document will not generate until Hill Legal have completed that particular sign-off. So you can see here that it is subject to legal review, and you would only click legal review completed once Hill Legal has provided you with that legal sign-off. The other part to this is because if you are wanting to get that and get that now before it's been done, we are naturally time-stamping that information and providing that to Hill Legal. Before it will complete, you need to acknowledge that legal sign-off has been completed. And once that process has been completed, then it will allow you to submit that order, which will then generate that completed order for you. Okay, so it is a process that allows you to manage it within the platform itself, because that's where the document is being generated, but you are engaging Hill Legal to undertake that work, and Hill Legal will work with you to resolve that as part of the overall process as well. So let's keep moving along now, and we move to our fifth area, which is around our DocFlows or workflow automation that we have across the platform. So this is very much focused on passing data from form to form to form. The idea here being that we are not, as a business, going to spend time combining forms into a single form. We know some of our competitors in the industry do that as a concept. It takes a lot of time, but what we see is the more that we can generate a workflow for you, the improved time will come as a result of that. So what we mean here, and you can see by way of example, is if you complete a company incorporation, then that detail from the company will move across to you to establish the fund. So the information about the trustee and who the directors are and stuff will automatically fill in your fund establishment form, cutting out about 70 to 80% of the information that's needed in that form, because it's automatically come across from that company form. And then once the fund information has been completed, you can then go and undertake your ABN and TFN as part of that process, where all the information from those previous forms is being utilized to populate that ABN and TFN as part of the process as well. So this functionality currently sits within the completed orders page. So what this enables you to do on a number of levels is to go in and say, okay, I'm doing a particular order here, and I might just go in and find a company order here first. So I can highlight this for you. So it's just searching over my orders, and we can see here under the actions, we not only have the integrations with our different software providers, but we also have an additional one here called DocFlows. So what that is going to do is once we have got that order, yes, you might get the email and you might be working from that, but you go into the completed orders, you'll see if the DocFlow is showing here, it will then allow you to go in and start that next process. So the information within this order form is going to now populate the information in the new SMSF form and enable you to continue down. So the fund name, for example, is not going to populate, either as the establishment date, because that information is not contained within the company incorporation. But we do know where it was governed. We do have fund details. We do have details about directors and members and all those things that you can see down further as well. So the other area to this, and again, if I go back to the completed orders here, that not only showed you from the company into the new SMSF. If I show you as well with a new SMSF, that same principle applies in respect to the ABN and TFN as well. So what we're doing here, when we look at the new SMSF, you can see, again, under the DocFlows, it allows us to then do that next step around the ABN, TFN application. So again, everything that is in that relevant form for that particular fund will pass across into our ABN, TFN application that you can see here. Okay, so again, things like ESAs and so forth that we don't have, that information will need to be completed, but our fund information, the address, the establishment date, all of that stuff automatically fills in, saving you a significant amount of time, especially when it comes to the associate details. The feedback from our members is that it saves around 10, 15, 20 minutes, this ordering form when you compare to trying to do it on the ABR itself. Now, the other aspect to workflows, and something that we have been spending a lot of time on recently, is a workflows section. So this is where we are, in essence, creating pre-populated workflows for you. So what we have here, by way of example, is, say, a new SMSF. And the new SMSF, what we want to be able to do is, we're not only setting up the fund, but we need to go through a process of setting up a bare trust as well with a standard company and maybe the loan facility agreement and so forth. So there are going to be a range of steps in a process. And this is where these workflows are going to help you to step through all the things that need to be done. So in this instance here, we have a special purpose company. If it is an existing order, because maybe we did it and then we realize that we want to use the workflow, we can pick that information up in here and obviously continue on. But the idea is it takes us through each of these steps. So we may be doing a bare trust in a company, but it's not a related party loan. So it will allow for us to remove that loan facility agreement as part of the overall process. Equally, we will be able to add new forms to this process. So again, looking at the different functionality in here for whether it's a new fund, an LRBA, whether it may be a company that's being established with a change of trustee and then looking to do a deed upgrade. There will be a range of options that you will be able to create a workflow as part of this process, and we will create those workflows, pre-packaged workflows for sake of a better word, and then it will enable you and your team to be able to go through and undertake each of those particular steps. So we're really excited about what this will be able to do, and the more that we talk to our members, the more ideas we'll get and the more forms that we get available on the platform here to use. The opportunities will continue to flow, pardon the pun there, around our DocFlows functionality. All right, well, let's keep moving on. We are now moving on to our sixth topic, and that is our client list. Now, this has been something in my focus and vision for the Smarter SMSF platform for the best part of 3-4 years. And this is taking our platform from a document-centric approach to a fund-centric approach. And what that means is it's enabling you to have a centralized repository for your fund and member information and documents. So to be able to order documents, to be able to capture documents, to be able to see that information that relate to your clients in one central area. The documents around pensions and binding death benefit nominations and so forth for particular members, you have all that readily available. The fact that it can be shared, arguably, with clients, with lawyers, with other parties, and then within our fund information, we have not only our deeds and our history of those deeds, but we would also see things like fund investment strategies and so forth as well. So one location to be able to do all of that. Now, how do we get there? Well, we get there through a process of adding that information in. Not manually, yes, we could do it manually, but syncing this information within your SMSF software, and then the ability to use that information to be able to take additional orders as and when you would require to do so. So this is something that we are very close to releasing. what is in essence the first version or first iteration of our client list. And the idea here, like I said, is very much about having access to being able to import your fund information in here, and then being able to use that information to not only manage the client here, but to also then connect your clients and have them all displayed and showing here as well. So in this instance, if we've got a connection to one of our softwares, if I look at this here by Supermate this time, you can see all the funds that are listed here, and then it will allow me to import that fund. If I want to connect to Simple Fund 360 here, and I'll just go in and choose my login. I need to do my multi-factor authentication again. 5, 2, 3. Listen there. Sure. Just let me double check that again. Okay, so that'll allow me to obviously choose to connect the firm here. And then again, what we can do from this particular process is view the funds that we have in here, and then allow us to import that relevant fund into the system. So if I wanted to find one, I might just do this one here. And then what that's going to do is it's going to bring all the information from within the software into our actual client list. So that is then going to enable us to view all that fund information and use that for future purpose. So with particular ordering that we may have, and then in here you can see we can check the history of that fund, whether it's in terms of who the members are. We can check the addresses, we can add in deed history. So that becomes important when we want to order, say, trust deed upgrades. All of this information is going to be used to then complete orders. So we're not going to have to connect every time to do an integration. What this will allow us to do is to go in and simply sync data on an ongoing basis to make sure we've got that information current. Now, we've got trustee details, we've got member details here, and then you can see we have our client documents. So the idea being that when we are undertaking orders, we can connect those orders back to that particular client. So if I go back to our client list here, and we want to have a look at a particular client, what you'll see in here is if I go, say, to our Monday fund here, you will see in here the fact that we not only have all of our relevant trustee information, our member information, we also have our deed history here. So we can add to that as we go along. So we can put in, is it an establishing deed, a variation, a change, who the provider is. So we're capturing all of that as part of the process, but we can also then connect documents here. So we have this repository again linked to who's involved in the fund. Not only can we do it by adding a document here historically so that we've got that trail right, in our completed orders, it will also enable us to go in and add to the client list from here. So if I decide to add to the client list, what it's then going to do is now set up the bare bone elements of our test SMSF. So if I go back, it's now going to have the base information in here. So you can see that there. And then when we view our history, it will capture that document that is in here. But then what it will require us to do is go in and complete all that rather relevant information that is not currently in there. Now, we can do that by simply syncing the data if that client is within our Class B GL or Supermate software. So the idea here is that it's providing a central repository for you to be able to undertake specific orders. So if I just share with you something that we're working on at the moment, what you're going to see here is ultimately a revised form field around how the integrations work at the top of the page. So I showed you before the fact that we had the 3 integrations. What this 4th integration will allow you to do is to go import, and then you will see those clients listed on the client list will then be the ones that you'll be able to use. So if I go down and choose our Monday fund here and then import, that is then simply importing all the information that we have about that particular fund into this ordering process for you. So again, saving you a significant amount of time, but once that order's been done, then in the completed orders, allowing you to go back and reconnect that into a central repository under your client documents as well. So it is something we're really excited about to be shortly releasing, and we'll be, like I said, sharing more information about that over the coming weeks and then moving that into beta so that people can utilize that across a number of actions, including a bulk actions function that we expect to be able to do for in a similar vein to what you can do with the CSV imports and so forth as well. So for bulk orders around deed upgrades, bulk orders around investment strategies and the like. And then the final one is the fact that we are spending a bit of time around AI functionality on the Smarter SMSF platform. And this will be incorporated into the ordering of documents. Our first focus has been getting it rolled out into our course content and then more broadly into our education. But we have spent a little bit of time getting it into the SMSF trust deed itself. The idea here is that the AI will allow you to ask questions about specific documents or about the ordering process. So things like, does the Smarter SMSF deed allow for a binding death benefit nomination? And what it will do is it will go in and look for the specific rule and provide you with information in respect to that. Or you may want to find out a little bit more about specifics of the deed and why the deed is a little bit different to other providers in the marketplace. So one of the things that we have is, well, what is a special rule of the fund? And can you explain what that concept is? So this functionality is something that is limited at this point in time to specific documents, but importantly, allows you to ask those questions of the particular document itself. So if we go in, pardon me, to our new SMSF form, and so our fund establishment, right? And what you can see at the top of the form here is the fact that you'll see the AI button that sits at the top here. So what we're doing here is you can see the opportunity for you to ask questions about the requirements of the Smarter SMSF deed and the documents around that establishment, noting that there is a limitation on what it can do. But if I just said there, can the Smarter SMSF deed provide for a binding death benefit nomination? So this is one of the questions that we touched on earlier. And then, yes, it can. Maybe we want to say what rule allows for a binding death benefit nomination. So it's going in and it's giving you all the relevant information here to understand what can or what can't be done. Okay, so it then tells us it's in Rule 11. The rule allows for the member to provide written direction, must be made correctly for it to be treated as binding. Okay, so the other one there was, can you explain what a special rule of the fund is? So again, it's if you want to look at some specifics that relate to the deed itself, a special rule of the fund is a rule created that becomes part of the fund's rules itself. It is declared by the trustee and cannot be varied except with the consent of the trustee and the member concerned. Special rules may be incorporated as a schedule into the fund rules themselves. So the idea here is that it will just help you to get a better understanding and appreciation of different questions that you might be working through within a form. So again, if we look at here, does the fund qualify for QROP status? So you might be saying, well, what do I need to know, or what do I need to do about QRops? So can you explain about QRops? Again, it just gives you the opportunity to ask some questions about the specifics of the deed, what those requirements are, and how it relates to the deed, and what you need to do as part of that overall process. Okay, so how many fund members are allowed under the Smarter SMSF deed? So you can kind of go away and just ask as many questions as you want to better understand how that works. Naturally, it allows for 6 members of the fund, which aligns with the requirements under Section 17A. So we're pretty excited, as a lot of people are, on this AI front in terms of what it can do. Initially, we're focused on the deed itself, and then we will roll this out across a number of other areas, pension documents, and a range of things that would assist you as you work through that particular ordering process as well. So, so they are, in essence, the 7 key areas that we've spent a lot of time on in improving what we see as a fairly significantly enhanced SMSF document platform. Now, the rollout here is very much in train. We are working on finalising the migration of the existing order forms that we have. In a lot of instances, as I've highlighted today, we've made changes to those. I do note that some forms will redirect back to the current platform whilst we go through this app rollout process. We want to move people into the new platform sooner rather than later. So as we continue to migrate, update, build new forms, there are some forms, what we would say are our lower used forms. There will be a default back to the existing platform. Now, as part of this process, we are going to change the login. So there will be a new centralized login process to access the platform. You won't see the change in terms of how you get there, but ultimately you will log in as you do currently. You will provide your single sign-on as you do currently. But what it will then do, as you can see on the screenshot on this page, it will then allow you to navigate to where you want to go to next. So we have some people that just want to go and access the CPD. They would go to the Learn platform, they will get logged in. If they want to go to the admin console to be able to manage their users and what team members are doing what, they can go directly to the admin console if they have the permissions to be able to access it. For everyone else choosing document platforms, it will take you to the new platform, not to the existing Smarter SMSF app. Okay, so that will be the default going forward once we roll out this centralized login page. And we expect this to be released in early December. We are going through the final stages of testing at the moment. So be on the lookout for that. And naturally, we'll be giving everyone a heads up before we move and deploy that live. So hopefully what I've shown you today is a range of things that we've been working on at Smarter SMSF to enhance our member experience and our user experience generally. Now, many of these features, as you can see on the bottom of this slide, are focused on features that are available for our members under our Smarter SMSF document subscriptions. So our Create 25 all the way through to our Create Plus document packages. We have a range of other tools that are available as part of the subscription packages, again, subject to what ones we have, whether it's custom cover pages, third-party API access to be able to order documents, say, from forms that you have on your own site. There are a range of things that we have and are working on, but they are specific to our document subscription. So if you do want to tap into many of these new features and you are not a document subscriber, I strongly encourage you to reach out to us and look for a demo and have a bit of a discussion about how we may be able to help you further around many of these new tools that we have available on our exciting and new Docs 2.0 platform. So that pretty much takes me to the end of today's session. We are very quickly closing towards the end of the year. We have just a few more sessions before we end this calendar year. Our next one on the 27th of November, we will deep dive into the deed of rectification process and showing you around our Smarter Legal Review how that process ultimately works. Our final CPD event for the year is on the 5th of December, our Changing Face of SMSF, our technical quarterly update. And then finally, we'll wrap up the year with a demo around our CPD packages. We know that Christmas is a time where people like to get their CPD in order. So we're going to work through the way in which we can help you to achieve that through our CPD packages and also our courses. And again, if you want to find out more about our events, you can visit our Smarter SMSF website, smartersmsf.com/events. And finally, not only will today's webinar, but all of these other product demos, the document integrations, the Feeling Smarter videos, all those things go on to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't yet subscribed, we encourage you to do so and keep up to date with all the latest that we release from Smarter SMSF on a technical front, but also practically like today's session as well. Well, I'm going to leave it there. If we don't have any questions, have a great rest of the week. Take care and bye for now.